Hello everyone, and this is another video for 1 Minute English. This video will be a little bit longer as I want to introduce many opposite words in English, okay? This is a great exercise to help you to improve your vocabulary. So let's get going. The first word we see here is about, and the opposite of about is exactly, okay? So about is more or less, right? It's about, approximately. So he is about 30 years old. Or exactly is exactly, okay? He is exactly 30 years old. That means his birthday is today. The next word is above. So above is something over something else. And the opposite is below. Try to guess if you know this vocabulary. Absence is the next word, and the opposite is presence. Okay, so absence is when you are not there. Okay, for example, if you work and you say, I took a leave of absence, that means that you left the company for some reason. Maybe you are sick or something like that. And presence means that you are there. Okay, you are in that place at that time. Abundance, okay, abundance is when you have a lot more than what you need of anything, okay? And the opposite of that is lack, okay? So when you lack something, you don't have something, okay? So there is a lack of food in the country at the moment. To accept something, okay, you say, oh, I accept that. Thank you very much for that. The opposite of that is to refuse. Okay, refuse when you say no. Okay, you accept, you say yes, thank you, and refuse is when you say no. Accidental. Okay, accidental is when you do something but you didn't want to do that thing. Okay, and the opposite is intentional or on purpose. Okay, so I did that on purpose. Okay. Next word is active, and the opposite is lazy. So if you are active, you do a lot of things in your life, right? You like jogging and you like running and swimming and everything like that. And lazy is the opposite. You don't want to do anything, right? You're very lazy. I feel lazy today. Okay, to add is when you put something else. 1 plus 1 is to add, and the opposite is to subtract. Okay, 1 minus 1 is 0. And to admit something, okay, that means that you did something and now you are telling people that you did this thing. And the opposite is to deny, right? You say, no, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. Okay, you denied. He denied the murder trial. Okay. The next one is adult. Okay, you are an adult. That means you are over 18 years old. And the opposite is a child, right? You are under 18. The next one is advanced. Okay, you are an advanced learner of English, or you are elementary or a beginner level, right? The next one is affirmative. So that's something positive. Okay, and the opposite is negative. Okay, so I went to the shop. Affirmative sentence. I didn't go to the shop. That's a negative sentence. Okay, the next word is afraid, right? When you are scared and something is very dangerous. And the opposite is when you are brave. Okay, when you're brave, you are courageous, right? Let's move on. The next word is after. So something happens after, right? You do something and then something happens after, the following. And the opposite is before. Before. The next word is against. Okay, against has different meanings, but here the opposite is for. So if you are against something, you don't believe that it is true, right? I am against capitalism, for example. I am against democracy. And the opposite is if you believe in something, you are for. I am for democracy. I am for capitalism. Alike, okay, is similar. So the opposite is different, okay? My father and I, we look alike. We look similar. Alive, okay, the opposite is dead, okay? I am alive now. And when somebody, something bad happens to them and they die, then they are dead, right? This is the adjective to describe the state. All or none, right? So all is when you eat all of the cake or you eat none of the cake. Always is all the time, right? Always 100% of the time, or never, 0% of the time. I never go to the cinema. Ancient is very old, right? It's very, very old. Or modern, right? You could use this for architecture, right? In Greece, there is a lot of ancient architecture that's more than 2,000 years old. And then maybe in New York, there is more modern architecture. To agree is when you have the same opinion as somebody else. And when you don't agree, you can say disagree or refuse, or to argue with somebody, okay? You have an argument. To allow something is to give permission, and the opposite of that is to forbid. I forbid you to go to the shop. Already, okay, or not yet, okay? I already did it, it's in the past, it's done, or not yet. It's in the future, but I haven't done it yet. Always, right? We saw that one already. And never. Amateur. An amateur is somebody who doesn't get paid to do something. And the opposite is a professional. Okay, professional gets paid, like a professional football player. I am not a professional football player. I am an amateur football player. To amuse is something that entertains you. Okay. And so if something amuses you, it's funny and it's entertaining. So the opposite is to bore. To bore someone is very boring. It's not good. Okay, let's continue. An angel, right? An angel is up in heaven, is looking down on you, and the opposite is the devil in hell. These are Christian words. Animal and human. To annoy someone, to satisfy someone. Okay, so if you annoy someone is like very annoying, and to satisfy is like, yes, thank you very much for that. To answer, to ask, okay, and answer, question, okay, antonym and synonym. So synonym is the same word, okay, and antonym is the opposite word, right? What we are doing now. Apart and together. So to take something apart is when you take it apart, right? And when you put it together, you put it together, right? Think about a piece of furniture or something like that. Approximately is more or less, right? There are approximately 5 million people in Ireland, in my country. And the opposite of that is exactly, right? There is exactly 5 people in the room, okay? To argue, we saw that one. The opposite is to agree. To arrest, what's the opposite? To free or to set free, okay? So if you get arrested, right, the police take you because you did something wrong, and then the opposite is to set free, okay? The prisoner was set free yesterday, okay? The next one is arrival, and the opposite is a departure. Okay, this is at the airport, so we have arrivals where you arrive, and then departure where you leave the country. To arrive and to depart. Okay, let's look at some more words here. Artificial. What is the opposite of artificial? Is natural. Okay, so you think about natural intelligence. The natural world is biology and people and things like that, and artificial is like fake. So like computers, artificial intelligence, right, is fake intelligence. It's like computers trying to be natural like us. To ask, let's think of an opposite. To answer, so you ask a question and then you answer a question. Asleep, and the opposite is awake. Okay, so this is again the state that you are in. Remember, alive and dead. This is also a state, so I am asleep. I am awake. To attack, what is the opposite of to attack? To defend. Okay, so you have defenders in football at the back, and near the goalkeeper, and attackers, they try to score a goal, okay? And then you also, maybe somebody attacks you, Okay, they are the person who tries to hurt you, and you defend. Okay, attack and defense. Okay, so these are the nouns. And protection. Attic. What is an attic? An attic is the room at the top of your house. You know the house when it goes like this? And in here is the attic, okay, at the very top. And the opposite at the bottom is cellar, or the basement, okay, is at the bottom of the house. Autumn. What do we have? The seasons. Summer, autumn. Summer and winter are opposites, and autumn and spring. Okay, and awake, do you remember? Asleep. Awful and delicious, nice and pleasant. Awful is really bad, yeah, something, oh, that tasted awful, it's really bad. And that tasted delicious, okay? Or anything that's really bad is awful. Okay, let's continue with B. So back and in front. Okay, so there's back and in front. In the background, okay, in the background, think about a picture, right? In the background, the things happening behind the main event, and in front is called the foreground. Okay, foreground. Backward, forward. Okay, think about walking, right? You usually walk forward, right? But you can also walk backward. Okay, bad. Okay, this is an easy one. Good. Bad luck, good luck. Okay, so when you have bad luck in your life, things are not good. They are not fortunate, right? And good luck is the opposite, right? Beauty, ugliness. Okay, so beauty is when something is very beautiful, and ugliness is the noun for ugly. So usually we use ugly and beautiful, right? They are the adjectives, right? But these two are the nouns. Before, we saw this already. After. To begin, to end, or to finish. Okay, both things are the same here. Then we have beginning, in the beginning, in the end. Okay, behind, in front of, right? So behind means that there is one object, right? And now you can see I am behind my hand, right? But then if you go in front of, then it goes like this. My other hand is in front. Okay, let's look at the next examples. Best. Best is the top, top, top. This is called a superlative adjective, right? When you compare one thing with all of the rest of the things, and this is the best, right? So let's think of football player. Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player in the world, okay? And the opposite is the worst, okay? The worst person. So this is the one person that is compared to all of the other people, the worst. Right, we're not going to say the worst in the world here because that's pretty difficult. But think about if you have a group of people, right? Group of friends, let's say. I am the worst at football compared to my friends. Better is when you compare two things. This is comparative adjectives. And it's worse, okay? Beautiful, we saw this before. Ugly, right? These are the adjectives. Somebody is beautiful, they are very good looking, right? And ugly is the opposites, right? They're not very good looking. Big, small. Okay, those ones are easy. Birth, death. Bitter, sweet. So sweet is this kind of sugary taste in your mouth. It's an adjective, right? It's not a noun. Just be careful of that. So you say something is sweet, yeah, right? And bitter is that kind of taste that like coffee without sugar, right? That's why many people put sugar into coffee because it's a bit bitter. Okay, black and white. Okay, these are opposite colors. Blunt and sharp. Okay, what do these words mean? So sharp, think about a knife. A knife is a good example, right? You have a sharp knife, right? It's very thin, right? And it cuts very easily. Cuts very easily, right? A sharp knife. The opposite is blunt, okay? When the knife, it doesn't cut very easily, right? And it's difficult to cut something. Body and soul, okay? Your soul is within you, okay? And your body is your physical being. Soul is your more spiritual. Okay, let's look at some more. Boring. Something is boring is not interesting, right? So the opposite is interesting or exciting, right? Something is very exciting. You are looking forward to that, or you really enjoy that. To borrow, to lend, right? These are the opposites, right? To borrow is when you don't have the object, right? But you want the object, right? So I think about a bank a lot, right? I want to borrow money from the bank because I don't have any money, right? But the bank lends me money because the bank has all the money, right? So think about the person who has the object and gives is the lender, right? And the person who receives the object is the borrower. And next one then, bottom and top. Okay, boy, girl. Okay, these are easier ones. Brave and cowardly or afraid. To break or to mend, to fix, right? I use fix more often, right? If you break something, it breaks. And to fix is when you repair it, another word, repair, or fix it. Okay, broad or narrow. So broad is something kind of wide like this, and narrow is more like this. Okay, um, brother, this one's easy. Sister, to build, to destroy, right? So build is when you build a house, right? And destroy is knock it down, right? You destroy it. Let's move on to C. So C, calm. Calm is relaxed, right? Everything is calm. It's an adjective. And excited, right? I am excited. Careful. Okay, when you are careful, you take care, right? You do everything very well and make sure you make no mistakes. Careless is the opposite. Okay, so when you are careless, you don't pay attention to anything, right? You just do things, you don't care. Next one, to catch, right? To catch something, and the opposite is to throw, right? To throw something, to catch, throw. Ceiling, floor. Okay, ceiling is the part at the top of the room, right? Outside is the roof, right? Out here, but inside is the ceiling. Okay, and the opposite is the floor, right? At the bottom of your house. Cellar we saw before. Do you remember? Do you remember the opposite of cellar? Cellar is the room at the bottom, also known as the basement, and the opposite is the attic. Okay, the attic is at the top of the house. Some houses don't have attics, right? If you live in an apartment like I do, we don't have an attic, but in some houses there is an attic. Okay, center. This is talking about the center of a city, right? So the opposite would be the outskirts and the suburbs. Okay, so the center is like right in the middle, right? And then the outskirts kind of a little bit around the end of where the city meets the countryside, right? Is the outskirts, and then the suburbs is kind of in the middle, a little bit closer to the center. Certainly, probably. Okay, so certainly you are very, very sure that something is happening, and probably, maybe it's happening, but probably it happens, right? Changeable and constant. Okay, something is changeable, something is constant. So what does that mean? Something that is constant, it's always there, it's always like this, right? But changeable is like it changes. Okay, so think about, for me, the weather in Ireland, in my country, is changeable, right? It's raining, then it's sunny, then snowing, then it's everything, right? But I've seen in other countries it's different, right? The sun is constantly there, right? You have sunny days every day. It's amazing. Cheap, cheap. The opposite is expensive. Okay, something is expensive. Child, we saw this one already. An adult or a grown-up. Okay, and children, and the opposite is parents. So the next word is compliment. So what does compliment mean? To pay someone a compliment, right? It means that you say something nice to them. Basically, you say, "Oh, you look great today." That's a compliment, okay? And the opposite is to insult someone. Okay, you say, you are a very bad person. You're very ugly. You're not looking good today. Something like that is to insult somebody. Okay. Compulsory. Repeat after me. Compulsory. When something is compulsory, it means you have to do it. Okay. There's no choice. It's compulsory. So for now, maybe in your country, you have to stay at home. It's compulsory. And voluntary is the opposite, right? You have the power to decide if it's voluntary. Okay, the next one is to connect and to separate, right? To separate and to connect, to put together, right? Consonant, and the opposite is a vowel, right? The vowels are A, E, I, O, U in English, and the consonants are all the other letters. B, D, M, N, these are all consonants. Constant, we saw before. Can you remember? Constant is something that happens all the time. And the opposite is changeable, right? Something that is very changeable, changes all the time. So construction is when the industry that builds things, and destruction, okay? So when you destroy things. To continue, so when you keep going, continue. And to interrupt, right? To continue talking and to interrupt somebody, right? And interrupt is when somebody is talking and then you stop their conversation. That's the most common use of to interrupt. Cool has different meanings, all right? Warm, okay? So the cool means that there's kind of a low temperature. It's not like very cold, but it's a little bit cold. Warm is the opposite. It's just a little bit hot, right? The other meaning of cool, right, is where something is very trendy and is very nice. Okay, correct, and the opposite is false or wrong, right? You are correct or you are wrong. Okay, let's continue. Courage. Okay, we saw this one before. Courage is when you are brave, right? And the opposite is fear. Okay, and the adjective is courageous, and the opposite is cowardly. Okay, cowardly. Then we have brave and courageous. Okay, the next one is to create and to destroy, right? To create something is to make something from nothing, right? And to destroy means that you cease to exist, right? Cruel. What does cruel mean? Cruel is when somebody does something that's, there's no empathy there in their action. They do something that's really not nice, okay, to somebody. And the opposite, this one's a little bit difficult, is humane or kind, right? Somebody is kind, they are very generous, right? They give you nice things. And we also use this word humane. Okay, the next one is to cry. There's two meanings of to cry, right? This first one is to shout, right? And the opposite is to whisper, is to talk very low like this. It's to whisper. So to cry is to shout. Shout is probably more common in Ireland anyway. And the opposite, to speak in a low voice, right? Lots of vocabulary in this video, is to whisper. Okay, and to cry, this is when you have the tears, right? You're very sad. And to laugh, sometimes when you laugh, you cry as well if you think something is very funny, right? The next word is curly. Curly, it's only one real meaning, right? Is your hair, right? When you have curly hair. The opposite is straight hair. That's when the hair just comes straight down like that. Okay. The next words are beginning with D. To damage and to repair, right? To damage, I damaged my car, right? You hit something with your car and then you go to the mechanics to get your car repaired, okay? To repair your car. Danger, what is the opposite of danger? Security or safety, okay? And dangerous is the adjective, right? Safe. So I feel safe. This is a dangerous place to live. Okay. Dark is the color when it's kind of goes towards black, right? A darker color. And then light. Okay. Like during the day, it's light, and at nighttime, it's dark. Daughter. Daughter is the girl when it's your child. And son is the boy. Dawn. Okay, dawn is at the very beginning of the day, right? Just when sunrise happens, it's the dawn. So, what is the word for when it's sunset? What is the opposite? Dusk. Okay, so we have dawn at the beginning of the day and dusk at the end of the day. Day, night. Deep. Okay, deep is when something goes, very inside something, is very deep. And the opposite, think about a body of water, right? A bit of water. And you say, oh, it's very deep. What is the opposite of that? Shallow, okay? So think about a swimming pool, right? Usually the place where you get into the swimming pool is the shallow end. And then as the pool gets deeper, it's the deep end, okay? Let's continue. Defeat. Okay, so defeat. That's when you lose, right? So the opposite is victory. Victory. Okay. Be careful when you're actually using these words. We use win and lose a lot more because they're the verbs, right? Liverpool won the Champions League or something like that. Real Madrid lost the Champions League, something like that, okay? Delicious. Delicious is very tasty, right? And awful or disgusting. I use that disgusting a lot. Is when something doesn't taste good. Okay, it tastes awful, it tastes disgusting. To deny, right? We had this at the start of the video, right? Like, can you remember? To admit, right? When you deny something, you say, I didn't do it. And when you admit something, you say, I did it. It was my fault. Okay. To depart, we saw this one too. To arrive, departure. Do you remember? Arrival. Okay. Desperate. Desperate. What is the opposite of desperate? Hopeful. Okay. Desperate is when you have no hope, right? So you're lost. You have nothing. You're desperate. Okay. And hopeful is when you think at least that things will get better. You feel hopeful. You feel positive about the future, right? Desperate, you feel negative about the future. To destroy. We saw this one. Can you think of? It could be possible different ones that we saw, right? To build or to create or to form, right? They're all different ones that are the opposite of to destroy. Destruction, can you remember? Construction, okay? The devil and the angel. A dictatorship, okay? This is when one person controls the country, but you don't get any choice about who controls the country, right? So there's no vote involved. So the opposite is a democracy, okay, where you vote for your leader of the country. And dictatorship is when one person is in control, but there's no choice in the matter. Okay, to die and to live. Okay, let's keep going. Different, different. So we have the same, equal, alike. Okay, so something is different, it's not the same. Something is the same, it's equal, right? They're very similar. Okay, difficult, the opposite of difficult. Easy. Okay, something is difficult or something is easy. So it's either very hard or difficult to do something, or it's easy. 2 seconds, done. Okay, so for different people, different things are easy and difficult. Dirty, dirty. clean. Okay, so think about your kitchen, right? If the kitchen is dirty or if the kitchen is clean, right? Usually you need to clean the kitchen every day, at least I do. Or if it's dirty, then you used all of the things, right? And they need to be cleaned. Distant, near. Okay, so something is distant, it's far away, right? In a distant planet, right? It's very far away. And near is just very close. It's not a big distance, right? To divide, to unite. Okay, so think about groups of people, right? You have different people and you divide them, right? Then they fight against each other. Or unite, you put them together, right? Often we use this with people. Division, unity. Okay, these are the nouns. To divorce, to marry or to get married, right? So to get married, to marry someone is when you give promise that you'll stay together forever with this person, and to divorce is when you decide to separate. A divorce or a wedding, right? These are the wedding is the ceremony, okay, and marriage is the idea that you get together, and divorced and married are the adjectives, right? So you are married if you have a partner and you had a wedding, and divorced, you separated. So you say he is divorced, or my parents are divorced. Okay, let's continue with the letter D. Domestic. What does domestic mean? The opposite is foreign. Okay, so think about foreign is from different countries, right? And domestic is within your own country, right? So we use this a little bit with flights, with airplanes, right? So domestic flights, they're the flights within your country, okay? And then foreign flights are ones that go to different countries. Down, up. Downstairs, the opposite of downstairs, upstairs. Drama, comedy. Okay, so drama is with lots of action and people fighting and things like that, and comedy is the opposite, right? People making jokes and something funny. Dry and wet. Okay, so something is dry, there's no water on the object. Something is wet, there is water. Okay, it was raining and the streets were wet. Okay, dull. Do you know what dull means? It's the opposite of interesting. Okay, the movie was dull. It was boring. Okay, dusk. Do you remember? The opposite of dusk is dawn. Okay, dawn for the morning, dusk for the evening.